Good morning. Welcome to the first day of the 2026 F1D World Championships from Mosco, Idaho. In the background, you can see this wonderful building, and you can also see some of the USA team members starting to do some winding for a quick practice flight before the first round starts. I'm really excited to be here and do this. F1D has been an event I've always been interested in. Even built up the courage to build one and quickly realized the event was not for me. But I've always followed the World Championships from afar through the written word and updates, and also try to get an update from the team when they get back every year. So I find it a fascinating event. I find it also a very stressful event. I was a glider flyer, hand launch glider, indoor. You stress for about 3 seconds, and it's as you watch the rollout of the glider to make sure it's going to transition the way you want it. And then you just kind of enjoy the flight. In F1D, you stress from when that airplane comes out of the box until when that airplane goes back in the box. Obviously, they're large, they're lightweight, that's part of it. The winding in and of itself is a stressful procedure. With them dropping the minimum weight for motors down to 0.4 of a gram, there's a limited amount of energy. It's become more and more important to get every last wind out of these motors. So they're winding them basically beyond the braking limit. It's not uncommon for them to break several motors trying to get one that's going to get the turns and torque that they need for the flight. If they don't achieve the turns or the torque that they need, then there's no sense taking the flight. They've got numbers that they know they want to hit, and if they don't hit them, then they're going to abort that wind. So that's stressful. The launch itself is stressful. It's the high torque portion of the flight, and that's where, if everything's not right, you'll see some airplanes go off pattern. We'll probably see some of that today, saw some of it in practice. And then after that, the stress is, am I climbing too fast? Am I going to end up in the ceiling? Or am I not climbing fast enough, where if I don't get the altitude I need, I'm not going to be able to use the turns coming down, and the flight's going to be short. So that's all stressful. Plus, the part that was actually the hardest for me, the part that really did it for me, was the steering part. You've got a balloon, you've got a model up there 140 feet that you've got to grab a very small section of to steer to recenter. It's a huge part of the skill of this event. You can have the best rubber, you can be the best builder, you can be a fantastic trimmer. If you can't steer, you're not going to have a seat at the table at the World Champs. The cross-section of skills these guys have to do this is remarkable. I've often thought if I had to start a company and I wanted it to be successful and it was going to be an engineering think tank thing, I'd grab the F1D team from any country. They've got obvious technical skills, passion, determination at a level that quite simply a lot of people don't have. So I'm going to try to bring you as much of the action as I can here live and try to introduce some people to this wonderfully, deceptively simple hobby. So we'll try to get you some footage of what it takes to process a model, some flight footage, anything fun that happens. There's a lot of drama hidden below the surface here, and I'm going to do my level best to bring it to you. Thanks. This is the processing station where each model has to be passed for a wing chord, wing span, and stabilizer span. It's basically a no-go go setup, where as long as it passes between the strings, which are set at just the right spans, then the model is physically processed for dimensional limits and moves to the next step, which is the weight station, which is inside of this tent just to keep the scales as stable as possible. So once he's passed there, we're going to sneak around here and stay out of the way. Take a peek into the tent, where the next step is to put the model on the scale and confirm that it is above the 1.4 gram minimum weight. And even with the tent, it still takes a little bit for the scale to settle. Nick Ray is in charge of all the model processing. So once that portion is done, the flyer is considered processed, they can go fly. There is yet a second scale, which will be used after the flight to weigh the motor.
They're actually on there. Yep.
And the motor has to be over or under 0.4 grams. The reason those are weighed after the flight is it's very common for a flyer to break several motors in the course of getting one wound. So rather than processing a whole bunch up front, they process them after the flight. Here is Brett's winding setup being held by team manager Tom Norell. So he's got some all the accoutrements he needs there: winder, some repair tools, torque meter, and the transfer stick. So he'll wind the motor in the designated area and then take that out and transfer it to the model right at the launch zone. These models are so fragile and the motors are wound so tight that they want them to be on the model as short as possible before they're launched. So, next step is to wind and fly.